Okay, and I want to start with a little video that it marks the start of my journey as a eco-village enthusiast. And what you see here in the background, can you see it smoothly? Okay, so here in the background is a neighborhood in the east part of the Netherlands called the Aardehuizen. And the Aardehuizen is the most self-sufficient and most sustainable neighborhood of the Netherlands. And it was built by the people themselves. And I helped to build it as well because my father, he lives there. And it's the first neighborhood of earthships in Europe. And I think most of you will know what an earthship is, but it's a type of passive house made from car tires and recycled materials and straw bale and wood. And initially it was made for the New Mexico climate, where it's very hot and dry, but these had to be adapted for the Dutch climate, where it's very more temperate and humid. And yeah, it's a really cool project. And I was still studying when this project was happening. And here you see me working on building the car tires for the walls of these houses, because each house had to be built with 1,200 car tires in the back wall. And it took around one person to do 4 per day. So it's almost like 1 man-year of labor in the back wall of these earthship type buildings, which is also the reason actually why I decided to go into eco-villages, because, take one person 1 year to build one wall, that's a bit extreme. And I think this is a very typical problem of villages that are built with a lot of love, a lot of enthusiasm, excitement by the people themselves, like these bottom-up communities. And I know that in this conference, there is a lot of talk, like the lady for us in that room, on intentional communities. And yes, it can be fun to do everything together and co-create, etc., etc. But I think there's also something to be said for doing things, more professionally, with the people with the right skills and the right tools, also the right amount of money to achieve certain things. Because otherwise, I think eco-villages will never go past a certain level of, let's say, advancement, and they will never be scalable. Because this took 3 years to build, with a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of fights also between the people that wanted to build it. There were meetings where people walked away crying because some cupola that they had on their roof was scrapped. And I mean, it's a miracle it happened, but the reality is that 90% of intentional communities fail, just like startups. It's a normal number, but this is the reality. So as an engineer, I decided to dedicate my life to.
All right.
Yeah.
We had a comment, so could you stick somehow closer to the screen or to the mic?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll try. Yeah, maybe if we have a more professional, I'll try to speak up. But it's quite close now, so I hope it works. So so this is the reason why I got into Ecovillages, and really, help from my expertise as an engineer, and then specifically focusing on the systems. And so this has been roughly 10 years ago, and now today, it's more clear to me than ever that regenerative villages are not the solution for everything, but they are a big solution for how we should live our lives in the future. Because the reality is that when it comes to the most essential commodities that we need, food, energy, and water, we are all completely exploiting the earth of these commodities. We're running into problems across the board, and it's very serious. And I'm an energy engineer by background, specialized in renewable energy. And let me tell you, the more you learn, the more depressed you get. I don't want to make it too heavy, but I've had to feel it myself. And I think, as an engineer, I want to solve things. So I've been thinking long and hard, okay, how can I apply and where can I solve it? And I think and no, people in crypto may probably agree with me, but I think decentralization is one of the biggest strategies we can apply in order to solve the predicament that we are in. Because if we have all our energy, food, and well, water is probably not the thing, but produced centrally, then there is a lot of how do you say, weak links in the chain and single points of failures. But if we decentralize our food production and we decentralize our energy production, then the system becomes more resilient because there's less nodes that can fall away, like we've seen with Corona, you know, the face masks. Now, there were only 2 factories in the world making them, and all of a sudden the whole world depended on that. So I think decentralization is the way to go, and also taking a step back in how we live. And so the question that was on my mind is like, what can we remove from our life while maintaining the same quality of life? And in order to answer the question, I looked at the Maslow hierarchy of needs. And I asked myself, like, okay, what do we minimally need in order to live like a comfortable life? And well, if you look at the pyramid, bottom is shelter, heat, food, air, and water, something like that. Then it's safety, security, then it's people around you and a sense of belonging. And all those things can be found in a self-sufficient community, and even the higher ones like esteem needs and creativity and sense of purpose. So to me, like a self-sufficient neighborhood is like the sort of most elementary unit in which humans can live and function and be happy and not have a giant impact on the earth per se. I mean, look here at TDF, I think we hardly spend anything, and the amount of money we spend is also directly correlated with our impact on the earth. So I think, you know, it's possible. So for me, self-sufficient neighborhoods are a solution, or not the solution, but a big part of the solution. And that's why with Smart Hoods, the company that I founded, we help to create regenerative neighborhoods that supply their own energy, food, and water. So you have water from the tap, food on the table, power from the plug, roof over your heads, some people around you. So like, you know, your needs are satisfied. And well, we do so according to 3 main principles. So the first one is like self-sufficiency or sustainability or whatever, you know, like stuff that's good for nature. And the second one, social, so being around people. And the third one is also smart, like really embracing technology. And I think that the smart aspect of it is also something that sets it apart from, let's say, more traditional intentional communities. I mean, that's been done before, that's been tried, and to me that feels like a step back. And also, like in my father's neighborhood, there's composting toilets, and I mean, I'm fine with them, and I think all of us here are fine with them as well. But we will not get mainstream adoption with these type of villages with composting toilets. If you ask me, I think, you know, we need to embrace technology and make it comfortable. So here you see like a schematic of how a system in this neighborhood would look like. So what we try to do with Smart Hoods is really circularize all the flows. So your sewage waste gets used to produce biogas. The biogas then goes to a cogeneration unit that produces heat and power. The heat and power goes to an aquaponic system where the fish waste feeds the plants, and plants grow tomato, and you eat the tomato, and you go to the toilet, and the circle is round. So really trying to, yeah, circularize all those streams. And we've done the calculations, and it's possible to become 100% energy neutral in terms of power. 100% heat can be supplied, 100% water, around 50% food. So food is the most difficult. Like, you're not going to produce your own chocolate, your own bread, or like everything that you want that's anytime soon. That's difficult. But vegetables and fruits and nuts and berries and herbs and that kind of stuff should be doable. So that's what we're aiming for. And then with Smart Hoods, we help to design like certain elements of these systems for project developments. And here you see an example, a solar carpet that we did for a project in the Netherlands. Aquaponic systems, new sanitation. It's vacuum toilets that don't flush with water, but with suction, like in a airplane toilet, and then you digest the shit, and then from the shit you can extract the nutrients, the biogas, fertilizer, that kind of thing. And so here you see a couple of projects that we did. Most of them are in the Netherlands. The ones that are actually built, so Aardehuizen, which is the one I told you about. Ecovillages, also a very cool project in Amsterdam. It's a former ship wharf that's been turned into a regenerative playground, where the plants that have been planted on the ship wharf actually help to clean the soil. And then in the bottom right, you see Schoonschip. It's the smartest neighborhood in Europe. Smart meaning they have a smart grid. So each house is a floating house, and they have a battery in the basement. Battery stores the solar power that's being produced during the day, and then it's being given up at night again. And then when you have too much, you give it to your neighbor. And then as the grid as a whole also acts as like a stockbroker on the electricity markets to sort of like buy low and sell high power. And that's not only sustainable, but also profitable, but it takes a bit of engineering to get right. And the bottom one, Ecovillages, is the one that I've been working on last winter. It's a scalable eco-village concept that I'll tell more about in a second. Well, I'll go quickly past these. Yeah, and then the goal is to arrive at what I call the smart hood. It's a regenerative village that embraces all these technologies and takes the best practices from the projects that we've been involved with so far, in order to create these neighborhoods where people live together in harmony and supply their own energy, food, and water. And ideally, I mean, this is from a deck I made 2 years ago. Would have this sort of like modern Scandinavian look, and then like hints of solar punk in it. But this was all dreaming. This is not something like Smart is not a project developer. We work for project developers. But so far, we're managing to work for the project developers that have these kind of visions as well. And one of the more interesting recent ones is, of course, Traditional Dream Factory, where I'm presenting from today, and where the last fall I've helped to build a heliphyte filter, which is the plant system at the back of one of the buildings here, that takes in the gray water from the kitchen, the showers, to filter the water using plants in a multi-stage process. And that was a cool project. And I think Traditional Dream Factory is also a very cool project with a lot of creativity, interesting people, interesting crowd, lots of creativity, a very good, let's say, community vibe, lots of connection with people in it. And I think those are definitely the strong points of TDF. However, I also do think that TDF falls on the, let's say, the bottom-up aspect of building communities, which I talked about earlier, has certain caveats that I think are present here as well when it comes to, for instance, organization and overall effectiveness in how things are done. But I wish it all the best, and I want to help also with Smart Hoods to design the full system for TDF, so also to arrive at like a circular food, water, energy system. And here you see some pictures of the heliphyte filter. Yeah, you've all seen it, of course. Yeah, if there's some questions, feel free to ask, because I know I'm talking quite fast. But...
No, it's perfect. You're perfect in time. Thank you very much for sharing all the insights.
I have more.
Yeah, maybe let's have a quick round in the audience. If there's an immediate question or statement somebody want to raise. So is there anyone who would like to unmute your mic and ask a question or share a thought?
One quick question, just because I know that the time is compressed, is there any way that we could get like a PDF or something of this presentation afterwards?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to share it.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, okay, I'll keep going. I'll keep.
You-
So then the next project, which is very interesting, because Ecovillages, I like last fall when I was at TDF, I went to a festival called Gathering of Tribes, and I think a lot of the rebuild community was there as well, and maybe some people here in the audience today as well. And Gathering of Tribes was interesting because it was a week-long festival centered around the topic of regeneration and building regenerative villages. And there were like all the different communities from Portugal who came there together for a week of dancing and celebration and breath works and yoga and astrology work sessions. And well, to be honest, at some point it became a bit too floaty for me. I was like, okay, where are these villages that are going to get built? But my question was answered on the last day, because apparently someone told me like, oh yeah, you should go talk to a German guy called Karsten. And he's in one of the other camps that was a little outside of the rest of, let's say, the gathering of the tribes camps. Because apparently there was a whole venture capitalist camp present at this gathering as well. So yeah, it was just a lot of powerful and influential people that are seriously looking at the regenerative space to see where the business opportunities are and how they can invest. And I was talking to this guy called Karsten, and he said he wanted to build 100 eco-villages, and he was working together with a Danish guy called Morten Lund, who's also presenting. They're both presenting actually at the Rebuild this weekend. And Morten, he wanted to build 10,000 eco-villages. So no lack of ambition there. And Morten is a guy, he's like a former ex-billionaire, well, at least in Danish crowns, I think, who became big with Skype and has started over 100 companies in tech mostly. And now he basically wants to build eco-villages as a tech product. So rapid prototyping, fail fast, fail hard, you know, getting the first MVP ready, and then getting the funding and investment to scale it super quickly. And that's the one you can see here. It's designed by Bjarke Ingels, so also not the least known name. It's like top 10 architects in the world. And last winter, we built the first house of Ecovillages. And the first house went up in 5 hours with 3 people using only a screwdriver, because they came pre-packaged in panels on a truck that were then lifted off in order of installation, and like a, well, you weren't allowed to say IKEA package, but like a Lego package, because it was Denmark. It could be, you know, assembled, and then like the frame was standing. But then we had to do the cladding and the insulation and the installation of the systems and the electricity and sewage and the roofing and the windows and whatnot. And then, you know, we went from 100 to 0 quite quickly, and we got bogged down and things started to go slow again. And in the end, we ended up building a house in 1 month, which is still fast, but it doesn't have the insane speed and the insane low cost that we aimed for. But it was the first prototype, so let's see. But yeah, I think the idea is very interesting, because these things can be solved. Like there's already a waiting list with over 100 different locations that also want an Ecovillages, because it's the same village everywhere. And when this can be demonstrated, the demand is huge. Like it's insane. Like people want to live here. There's a waiting list now, over 700 people who pay 10 euros a month to be on the waiting list to live in this village. So yeah, if you can crack this nut, then you're good, you're golden. But I do think Ecovillages model, like it's a rental model. There's supposed to be a community vibe, like 4 hours of work every week, which also still has to be demonstrated. But I'm not sure if it fully has the regenerative soul that a place like TDF has, you know, because it's still a bit more on the traditional side of project development in that regard. But it's cool to see that like the big players, let's say, are also definitely eyeing these eco-villages. Yeah, here's a system that I helped to design for it. I won't go into detail. And there at Ecovillages, Smart Hoods also built a biomiler, which you can see here. It's a giant ring of foreshit and wood chips, 100 cubic meters that can provide heat for 5 houses over 2 winters, because they extract the heat from the composting process. And by the end of it, you have good quality compost that you can then use to produce your own food, which is also something they want at this Ecovillages. And I have a question here, I see. Oh, and a lot of emails of people who are interested, so that's nice. How do you see the dependency of tech solutions on foreign countries as a liability? Yeah, it's always a problem. So let's take solar panels as an example. I mean, they're made in China, most of them. There's hardly any European PV production left. And yeah, I think, I mean, you can choose not to go for solar panels so that you're not dependent on other countries, but I think that ship has sailed. You know, we just have to accept it, I think, embrace the technology. And I think, yeah, also the regenerative mindset is probably one where you try to include everyone and not be protectionist against what technologies to include. That's my take on it. And yeah, if you don't accept it, then you go back to like the 1800s and do like homesteading like they did then. So let's see. Yeah, I'm almost at the end of my presentation. So one slide I probably want to leave it at for now is this one. Like the way I see it, there's a spectrum in how you can approach community societies, and it's the collaboration versus competition spectrum. And I think when it comes to intentional communities in places like TDF, it's very much value-based, all about love and collaboration and co-creation and sense of community, connection with others, etc., etc. Which I think is definitely, you know, the counterbalance that we need from our, let's say, more competitive and individualist society. But ultimately, my take is that we definitely do also really need the organization and the effectivity, the efficiency, and the competence that a competitive system brings along in order to get the best of both worlds, because they're not mutually exclusive. I think there are ways to engineer it so that we can get to like the best middle ground, and how to do that's something that, you know, I and me, Smart Hoods really like to think about and to help with. And I would also like to conclude that we are looking for work with Smart Hoods. So if you know any project developers that have high sustainability ambitions that need help on the engineering of integrated food, water, energy systems, then feel free to reach out. All right.